Hello everyone and welcome back to Laurence Plays Factorio Space Exploration. I'm back up in space again, and this is where more or less where we got to at the end of the last episode. We've got my my spaceship here that comes in from Asalia with all the rocket fuel in it, and then that gets pumped out into these tanks here. And I've also got a supply of ion stream, which, as I said in the last episode, is coming in by train to here from the energy science area where it's all being made. So in theory, we then have lots and lots of both ion stream and rocket fuel available here, which we can then pass along to keep the spaceships refueled. Now, this one keeps itself fueled. If we look inside it, this pump here fills the spaceship from outside. So when it lands, there's another pipe here on the other side that pumping the fuel in when it's out on Asalia. That fills up all of these tanks inside it, except for this one in the bottom corner here. That one, as you can see here, there's an additional pump that's pumping fuel from this tank into this pipe, which feeds this tank and also the engine. So the idea behind this is that this tank should always be basically full. I think this is set to pump. I forget the exact rules of this pump. Let's have a look. This pump is set to pump when A is 1.1000, so that means whenever the spaceship is landed on Asalia, this pump will run. And so while the ship fuels up on Asalia and fills up all of these tanks, it will also pump fuel into this tank to make sure that this one is full before it takes off. Then after takeoff, the pump will stop running to ensure that there's as much fuel available to go into these tanks as possible, because there's always going to be plenty in this. This tank is more than big enough to keep the engine running to do the trip from Asalia to Norvis orbit and back again. As you can see, it's used 10,000 of that in the blasting off from Asalia orbit, although it had some help from the other ones, and then flying over here, which was exclusively just this tank. And so that's used up 10,000 of it, and on the way back it'll use up maybe another 10,000, probably less, but no more than another 10,000. So there's plenty in there to keep that running. And so but that means that then when we land here, these two pumps can drain all of these tanks and not have any worries about the ship being able to get back to where it came from. So that works nicely. Then we've got these two pipes here with the fuel in them, and we need to get that along to all of the spaceships that's going to come in. So I've got a bit of a proof of concept here. This is going to be my first cargo spaceship. As you can see, it's got a warehouse in it to store all the stuff, and these things have a capacity of 512 stacks. So that's about the same as a rocket. A rocket, I think, it's about the same as check 500. So it's ever so slightly bigger than a rocket, but only very slightly. So the idea is we have this spaceship will land on another planet somewhere where we want to get some stuff, and that'll come in along this belt here. It'll get loaded into the warehouse. Once it's full, we'll use the signals down here to tell it to blast off again. And as you can see, I've not actually wired any of these up yet. This is on the to-do list. Then once it's full, it'll blast off and fly back over here, and then we'll use the IDs on these clamps. So this one is a number 4, this one's number 2, and so on. So they've all got different numbers, so you can make sure the spaceship's always clamping in the right place. And then it'll attach on here, and then these inserters will put all of the contents of the warehouse onto the belt, and it'll flow out here, and it'll go into this warehouse, where from there it'll then get picked up by trains and taken off to wherever it's needed. So previously, when we were using the rockets, we'd have a rocket fly in whenever the cargo landing pad emptied. So then, when this is empty, a rocket will come in with another 500 stacks of sulfur, which will then get dumped into here, and the trains can come along and pick them up. This is basically the same, except instead of calling in another rocket when the landing pad gets empty, when this empties, that'll signal to the ship that it's time for it to fly back to wherever it was getting the whatever materials from, and refill on whatever it needed. In this case, I'm planning to send this one out to Kothar to get Iridium, and there's a couple of reasons for that. It's because I need to go out there anyway in order to upgrade the drills from the small area mining drills, which we can see if I look at Kothar. I've got the normal small drills here, and there's been a change in one of the updates recently where that says you have to use large area mining drills in order to mine Iridium these days, and so I like to stay on the latest version of these things, because there's a few other changes and things that have been made that would be quite nice to have. So there's a piece of pipe missing there. Never mind, I'll fix that later. So I want to upgrade those to the large mining drills, which will then mean I'll be able to upgrade to the latest version of the mod pack. And I also want to put in a few more of these as well. I want to put in a mine down here and probably up here. Just because, I mean, there's plenty of it at the moment, but I just feel that I'm underusing it a bit, underutilizing it a bit, and this is quite a slow process digging this up. I think it runs at a fifth of the normal speed, so it's going to take quite a long time. It takes a long time to get enough to fill up the station. And if the trains start coming because I start using more iridium, then that's just going to get more and more demanding on the system. So I want to try and keep this up, keep it full, keep it up to date, keep it running nice and quickly. And I also suspect that as I get more and more science being done in space, I'm going to start using more and more of these things, more and more iridium, more and more of everything else. So I want to just make sure I've got a good supply of it running and available. Other than that, I also need to put in this umbrella defense here, and I need to do that fairly quickly because there is there's a coronal mass ejection due here in just over an hour. So that's a bit worrying. I don't know if I'm going to make it here in time given that I want to build up start making the large mining drills as well. I'm not sure I can do all of that in an hour and still get out here. So I might fly straight out here first, possibly in my fast ship, and then carry on and then sort of just work things out from there. So we shall see. On a similar topic, so that's what this spaceship's going to do eventually. And so as you can see, we're going to run the pipes along here. They're going to connect to these pipes here. Now I haven't really left enough room for this because of the fiddliness of getting pipes to pass by each other. So I'm going to probably make this a little bit wider, run this fuel pipe down an extra square across, and have the what do we call it, ion stream coming along here, and then have this coming from about here down to about here. Actually, here should be okay as long as there's a gap, and then I can run that along there, and there's still room to put in the pipe to link those up, and then an underground pipe to go under there like that. So something like that should work reasonably well, I think. Once I've got that in place and working, I can then make a copy of this entire thing, put it here, and then, well, there probably isn't room for yet another one. So it's probably going to be three spaceships per row along here. But then I can put in another row of them along here. I'm going to need to get rid of this, but that's fine because I'm producing the material science packs elsewhere now, so I don't need this bit anymore. That's just unnecessary. And so I'll be able to start having lots and lots of these spaceships coming in here, and then I can form then essentially an array like this one. So for all of the different materials that are being shipped up, but on a larger scale up here, and using the spaceships instead of the rockets, and that'll mean I'll be able to gradually phase these out of use. So just fly things around in a slightly more efficient way. Another thing I've done recently, and I don't think I've talked about, is I've been out to Henkiseswi, and I finally put in this stone drop-off patch here. And I've been saying I need to do this for absolutely ages. So that's collecting stone from the mine down here, which is still at 3.6 million, so there's plenty of stone left there at the moment. And the reason I need this is because I need a flow of it coming up here, and then all the way up here, being turned into bricks in order to turn these bricks into green circuits in order to make red and blue circuits. Because one of the reasons I came out to Henkiseswi, and the reason I built all this up, was because there's a much more efficient recipe for making blue circuits that uses literally half as many green circuits and half as many red circuits, in exchange for also using some holmium cable. So I wanted to make sure I was doing this as efficiently as possible, so I wanted to switch over to using that recipe. But I assumed I was going to be getting through a lot more holmium than I was, so I expected the amount of stone that's being produced here, coming out of these systems, to be enough to keep that running. It turns out it wasn't. So up here we've got this system which is pulling out all the stone as it comes up here, putting it into a chair. There's a little bit of a buffer thing here, but the idea is that this should then allow me to use as much of this as possible. It isn't a great design, to be quite honest with you. Maybe if I do this as well, we'll feed in a bit more on the other side. And that'll, I don't know, it hasn't really made any significant difference. But the idea is that we shall make sure that we use the stone coming in from here before we use the stone coming from the train. At this point, we've run into a bit of a backlog, and I might need to turn some of it into sand, but I don't really want to. but I might have to. We'll have to keep an eye on this and see how it goes later, because I don't. Yeah, it's. I need to make sure that the holmium keeps flowing, because I don't want to run out of this stuff where I'm in on the space station. But I also need to make sure the blue circuits keep running, and because so I don't run out of those either. So it's a careful balancing act, and I might need to have some sort of thing that maybe have a circuit condition that monitors this chest here, and if it gets over 2000, then we start feeding stone up here as well, in order to turn it into sand and into glass to ship out as glass to anywhere that needs it. So there's a bit of some tricky decisions need to be made there, and I shall see. And it could be that because we've got a full rocket here, we've got quite a lot of holmium here, we've got a full rocket here and quite a lot of blue circuits. So it might be that there's enough buffer here that by the time either of these, by the time we need more holmium to be loaded into the rocket, we'll have flown off some more blue circuits as well. Especially with some of the stuff like, if we have a look back on here, I was complaining about this a bit in a previous episode. I think it's talking about the tier 2 supercomputers down here. These ones, they require 500 blue circuits in order to make one of these quantum supercomputers, plus another 50 quantum processors, which require so that's another 50 processing units of that as well, and a bit of holmium and some quantum phenomenon data. So there's a lot of stuff going into these things, but that could produce quite a nice draw on the blue circuits if I feel I need to. So if we look up here, we've got the rockets landed here. We've got about half a rocket's worth of blue circuits in the landing pad. So it's going to be a little while, like 26,000 blue circuits, which is apparently 52 supercomputer Mark IIs. So before I actually get round to ordering another one. But then also the holmium is probably. Okay, that's running a little bit lower. We've got... oh no, I take that back. Holmium is much less dense. So we've got... Even though we've only got 23,000 of it, which is slightly less, we've still got... That's still 2/3 of a rocket. No, in fact that's nearly an entire rocket. 480 stacks out of 500. So it's going to be... There's plenty in there to keep that going for a while. So we might be okay. I guess we shall wait and see. And fingers crossed and hope for the best and stuff like that. So that's basically what I've got for you today. We've got these supercomputers being built, and I'm sure I've talked about it, but I can't remember if it was on stream or in video, so I'll touch on it again. But the we can make the tier 1 supercomputers. That requires 100 blue circuits, so that's even more than required for this, because you require the supercomputer as well. So it's actually 650, even more expensive. But there's two tiers of supercomputer I've got now, and the tier 2 ones are literally twice as fast. If I look up supercomputers, we've got the tier 2 ones here. They have a... It doesn't tell me. Here we go. They have a crafting speed of 2. These have a crafting speed of 1. So they run literally twice as fast. However, given the price of them, I reckon it's more efficient to... and actually looking at the power as well, this uses 1 megawatt, this uses 2.5 megawatts. So in every way, it's more efficient just to shove in 2 tier 1 supercomputers. The only other difference would be if they have different numbers of module slots, but I'm not worrying about that at the moment. So yeah, essentially these ones are worse in every possible way than having 2 of these supercomputers, except that there are a few recipes that can only be done in the quantum supercomputers, in the tier 2 supercomputers. So the 2 of those I actually care about at the moment. One of them is the one we're doing here, which is where we're formatting the memory cards. And if we do it in the tier 2 supercomputers, we can use this recipe, which is the efficient data card formatting, and gets you 80% of your blank data card, 80% of your cards through as reusable blank data cards, and only junks 20% of them. If you do the tier 1 version of it that can be done with the tier 1 supercomputers, then you only get 70% of them back. So it's probably worth it for that bit of gain in there. I've said this before, but I need to add in some extra unloading along here for these memory cards, because this is a bit full. These chests are a bit full for my liking. The other thing that needs the tier 2 supercomputers is over here in the science area, where we're making the insights from the... no, we're taking in the insights and making the significant datas. And with these ones, I'm currently using the tier 1 supercomputers, and that means I'm turning 36 inputs, 12 of each type, into 8 significant datas. I also have the option to make significant data this way using all 4 of them, 9 of each, which is the same number in total, still 36, but you get 10 significant data on the output. So it's more efficient. You get more significant data for your input and insights. So I think this would be quite a nice one to update at some point as well. And at the moment, as you can see, I've got them all doing slightly different versions of the recipe in an attempt to keep the number of different insights I'm using reasonably well balanced. But I do want to move over onto the more efficient method of doing this reasonably soon when I actually can. Elsewhere, there are lots of other things that use supercomputers. For example, all of the turning all the data cards into science packs uses supercomputers. Why is this stopped? I'll have to have a look at that in a moment. But this one, there's no advantage to using a tier 2 supercomputer apart from it running twice as quickly. So in this case, I might as well just leave this running with a tier 1 supercomputer. There's no point in upgrading. If I wanted to run faster, I can put in another row of another 6 supercomputers over here. Now, the other possible downside of that is that I might be able to get around the increased power usage, because it's quite possible that tier 2 supercomputers have more module slots. Let's check, actually, since I do have some here. Yes, they've got an extra 2 module slots, so I could make them run faster, even faster. I could make them run more efficiently. So that would increase the speed advantage quite a bit, and it would negate the power disadvantage. So they're not completely useless, but they're not. I don't think they're really worth it. Now, there should be catalogs flowing along here, but something has gone. Once again, I've got. Is it the same? Yeah, this place. There's something going wrong here. I don't know what it is, but this particular sub-factory keeps overfilling on thermofluid, and I don't know why. There's no. For some reason, it just keeps getting to the point where there's just too much in here. I've obviously got the wiring, the balance wrong somewhere, but I don't know how. So along here we've got all of the. I've actually not linked up all of these. Let's do that. But this shouldn't. Oh, maybe it did matter. Oh, maybe when I didn't link that tank up. But all of these are linked together. We've got 114,000 thermofluid, only subtracting 10k from it, and yet we've still got. I don't know what's going on here. Why this is happening? Do I have tanks? I do have tanks. I do have tanks. Let's go over and sort that out, because this is frustrating, very, very frustrating, and I don't know why it keeps happening. What if I put in storage tanks on some of the other types of thermofluid, the really cold ones? Up here, let's put a tank for you and a tank for you. And what that'll do is it'll give me a bit more of a buffer and a supply of these things. But more importantly, it'll make these run as we drain out. It'll make these run and turn the warm thermofluid into the colder types of thermofluid. These tanks are working. We've got the right amount in these. These are both 16,000. 16,000 is a bit high, actually, but it is getting pumped through back into. I don't think it can be because of these. But what this will do is it'll essentially take 25 thermofluid out of the system, so 50,000 thermofluid out of the system to go into fill up these 2 tanks, and then we can get more of the warm stuff flowing back down here. Oh, that's on the warm side. Oops, I didn't mean to put it there. There we go. That's drained some of it out. That wasn't what I meant to do, but never mind. It'll have to do. Can I put that there? No, I can't. Can I put it there? Yes. That's what I actually meant to do. No, it's not. I wanted to put it on. Sort it. Come on, Laurence. Sort it out. Get things right. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? What I actually meant to do is put one in here. So now I've got a tank. I've got tanks storing all the 4 temperatures now. So I've got all the ones down the bottom here holding the warm stuff, and that's getting pumped through these as quickly as they can manage it, and then turned into the cool stuff, which is being stored in this tank, or at least will be once enough of it has been made. It flows through. Cold. So we've got warm stuff being stored in these tanks down here, and being kept topped up by the trains as and when necessary. That's going into these. These are all chilling it down to cool thermofluid that's going on into here and being stored in these tanks. So at the moment we're now draining out of these tanks just to make sure we try and keep the whole thing reasonably balanced. So then going in through these ones that turns into cold thermofluid. There's not very much of that. That's getting used up as quickly as it's being produced by these ones that make it into super chilled thermofluid. And we're keeping that in there, and we're keeping the cold one in here. So eventually, once these machines are the limiting factor at the moment. Once these have run enough to essentially fill up both these tanks again, the system should all calm down a bit. And fingers crossed, the extra 50k that's going to go on from here into these is going to keep it balanced and right and not doing anything stupid. Please, I hope. I don't know why this has been being such a problem. But it really, really has, and I despair slightly. Okay, that seems like a reasonably good place to finish. I've had a reasonable amount to talk about there. Next up on my to-do list is a bit more science, I think, so we'll get on with that fairly soon. But for now, I think this is all running. Let's check that up here again. No, we're still practically full of. Oh no, they are all running. Yes, they're all running again now. Yes, here we go. 6 at a time coming out. And so we've got loads and loads of the input cards because that's been stored for ages, even though it requires some of the coolants as well. So that's all going quite well. So I think I'm pretty much happy with this. It's been a bit glitchy, but it seems to be working for now. Let's put another 2 tanks, and then let's wire them up before I forget to. Like that. There we go. Okay, fingers crossed that's going to keep working, and we'll get all of the science we need from there. So, as always, thank you for watching. I hope this has been a good episode. We've had a bit of a think about the fueling system that's coming in, and where everything's going to go in the future. So where we're going to start taking these more advanced these cargo spaceships and getting everything they need. So, until next time, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the show, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.